Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome back to Becoming Her. You did read that title right. We are talking about periods and our cycles in today's episode, and I'm so excited because understanding my cycle has been life-changing to creating the life of my dreams and being able to chase my goals and create my habits and honestly just understand myself on a deeper level than I ever thought possible. I think a lot of us know about our period. We understand we have a period, we bleed every month, we hate it. But those 3 weeks outside of our period every month, roughly, are just as important, if not more important, to our health and our bodies and everything inside. And so today I'm going to be going over our entire cycle, the 4 phases that we have. I call them the inner seasons, syncing our habits based off of our cycle, strengthening our deen even during our period, which of course, we can't pray or fast, but we can do a lot of other things. And just learning how to really honor our bodies for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and understand that our bodies are so unique in such a beautiful way. And I'm hoping by the end of this episode, you see your cycle and maybe even your period as a blessing and a beautiful thing that your body does versus just that 1 week of your month that is dreadful, which it is. I agree, but there's more to it. I just wanted to start off with a few hadiths that were narrated by Aisha radiallahu anha. So the Prophet had said, peace be upon him, menstruation is a natural thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, so don't feel ashamed about it. That's a big one. I think we both, like as if I'm talking to one person, I think we all have grown up feeling, at least at one point, some sort of shame about our menstruation and about our periods, especially during maybe Ramadan when you can't fast. So I think that's a really important hadith just to remember. And then another one that I wanted to mention today was that, again, narrated by Aisha radiallahu anha, even when a woman is menstruating and can't pray or fast, she still earns rewards for other acts of worship like dhikr, remembering Allah, and making dua. Just something to remember. I think we all have heard these before, but I really wanted to start off the podcast with those hadiths. They don't necessarily, bring us into what I'm talking about next, but I think those are really important for us to remember. We're going to actually just get started with the 4 phases of our cycle. I'm going to talk about them a little bit more in detail. So whether you kind of already know this or don't, I'm going to just break it down for everybody. So we'll start with the first one. This is technically days 1 through 5, sometimes ish, like 5, 6. And this is your menstrual phase. I call it the inner winter. We all know this one pretty well. This is when your estrogen and progesterone is low. So you will feel fatigue and tired and low mood. The science behind this is that your hormone drop triggers the uterine lining in your body to shed. And so that's what causes the bleeding during our periods. Although prayer and fasting isn't allowed during this time, dhikr, dua, reflection, and journaling are all forms of worship that we can do during this time. So I like to take my menstrual phase, my inner winter phase, as a time to really rest. I know a week out of the month sounds like a lot of time to rest, but as women, I think we really need that time. We're constantly so busy and taking care of other people and doing so many things that having that week where you mentally know I don't need to show up for myself in the same way that I usually show up for myself this week, I can take that extra rest, I can take that nap, I can sleep in a bit more and not feel guilty that you maybe aren't doing as much as you'd hope to and sticking with your habits as much as you'd hope to. This is the time to really allow yourself to rest. You can be productive later because our bodies are literally shedding the uterine lining. Some things I like to do during my menstrual phase is journaling, as always, maybe just some gentle stretching, really leaning into my cozy hobbies. So that could be, coloring, reading, listening to podcasts, wink, wink, and just having mindfulness. So just taking care of yourself, fueling yourself, all of that good stuff, which I'm sure a lot of us have already known. So after our menstrual phase, the next phase of our cycle is the follicular phase. So this is usually from days 6 to 14. Now these are just rough estimates of days. Everybody has obviously a different cycle, so it's kind of this vibe. I'd say the best way to kind of know know the exact days for yourself is to start tracking. So we will get into that later. But the follicular phase, I call the inner spring. So this is when your estrogen is rising. So think your energy is improving, your focus, your mood. All of those things you were feeling last week aren't really there anymore. You might even feel like a different person. That happens to me. And all those things are improving. So this is the best time to start new routines, creative projects, and get into more socializing. I would say my menstrual phase, I try to not really make any plans, to be honest, unless they're very, very cozy and chill. This is a time where you could make plans. You could be more busy. You can hang out with friends more. Islamically, this is a great time because you just finished your period. I usually, the week of my period, miss praying. So when you have that urge in your heart to do more because you weren't able to for a week, this is a great time for Islamically to set new goals related to your deen and to do some gratitude journaling. This is usually about a week long-ish, and it's a great time to just start new habits, start new things, and take advantage of that energy. The next part of your cycle will be only a few days. It's usually 3 to 5 days, and this is your ovulatory phase, or what I call your inner summer. This is the peak estrogen that you'll have. So I remember hearing this once, and I think a lot of us will relate to it, and it's that unfortunately, technically, we actually are, I don't want to say uglier because I don't really like that term, but we are technically like uglier during our periods. It's the slightest change that only we can notice on ourselves. But I forget why, and this is probably not a good thing to be talking about in the self-improvement podcast, but like, you know, your pores are just bigger and your skin breaks out. We all know the vibes. You're bloated, everything. Opposite to that, your ovulatory phase, which of course it's only 3 to 5 days, but it's okay. This is when you be your peak confidence, social energy, high motivation. One thing I always think to myself, because your ovulatory phase is when you also have higher testosterone as well. And I'm like, this is how good I feel with high testosterone. So you're telling me that men get to feel like this all the time? It's actually crazy. So take advantage of this. This is the optimal phase for high energy tasks and social engagement. Now I know it's only a few days, but if you can like align plans, especially like big plans, like let's say you're having a wedding, try to set it up to be around your ovulatory phase if you can, because this is the time. You are going to feel your best. You're going to look your best. You're going to have the highest level of energy. Things you want to do during this time: networking, be more assertive, have some assertive communication. This is the time where you'll be confident in what you're saying. And then high intensity workouts to get that energy out is also a great thing to do during this time. Islamically, this might be the time that you want to do more local community service. And again, just have gratitude as always for your body and the way it is designed. Can you tell I love the ovulatory phase? I'm so passionate about it. It's my favorite. Then we're moving into my actual least favorite phase of the entire cycle, even more than menstrual. And this is, and if you've never heard about this will be your new phrase every time you're struggling mentally. I'm in my luteal phase. This is the luteal phase. Now, this phase is 10 to 14 days, and this is called your inner autumn. So your progesterone is rising. This means PMS, which is premenstrual syndrome, I think. And then there's PMDD, which is an even more extreme version of that. And that is a real thing. That's not just you being crazy. Like PMS is so real. Mood swings, fatigue, feeling down on yourself, feeling angry all of a sudden, crying, all the things that that happen before your period, feeling ugly, struggling with motivation, not wanting to do the things that you usually love to do. All of that is going to happen, unfortunately, during your luteal phase. So I try to stick to more quiet hobbies during this time, and not necessarily like on your menstrual phase where you're just fully resting. I think this is more of a time to kind of have some like isolation. So you can still go to the gym, but maybe a more gentler workout, maybe go for a walk, really journal your emotions, process your emotions, because just because your emotions are heightened during this time, it doesn't mean that your emotions aren't real and that they aren't things you're actually feeling. And a lot of times during your luteal phase, some emotions that you maybe don't allow yourself to feel throughout the month, when your emotions and your hormones aren't as raging, you ignore. So if you're feeling things and you're overreacting, or you think you're overreacting on things, really lean into those emotions and figure out why you're feeling that way, because oftentimes they are your real feelings, and it's just the only time that your body and your mental actually lets you release how you're feeling about those things. So even though I say I hate luteal, there is definitely benefits, and obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created our cycle for a reason. So there is benefits, there is barakah in every single stage of our cycle. I just think it's really important to understand the cycle so that you can align your life with it. Make it easier for yourself, inshallah. So those are our 4 stages. So we have luteal, which we just talked about, inner autumn. We have our ovulatory ovulatory, which is our inner summer. We have follicular, which is our inner spring. And then we have the menstrual phase, which is our inner winter. If you want more detailed breakdowns, definitely do some research and look into it online. There's so many resources out there now as it's slowly growing. For the longest time, there wasn't because women's bodies were not researched enough. So definitely suggest looking into that. I wanted to quickly touch on the menstrual cycle one more time before we move into the other things I wanted to talk about today. And that is strengthening your deen during menstruation. Although we can't pray or fast, there's a lot of things that we still can do during our menstrual phase. And that is dhikr, dua, listening to Quran, making reflection. And so just taking some time during your menstrual phase. It could be 5 to 10 minutes of just, gratitude journaling, maybe reciting some short du'as, reading tafsir or any kind of Islamic books. And just remembering that there's a hadith saying menstruating women are not excused from reward. Their actions and supplications still count. Don't just kind of see it as a write-off week. Try to still keep that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even just having conversations with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a great thing to do now that we've learned about our cycle and what it looks like is learning where you are within your own cycle. So typically it is your first day of your period that will be day 1 of your cycle. If you've never tracked before, you can wait until you get your next period, and that will be day 1 of your cycle. So I personally use an app to track my cycle. My personal favorite right now is called Stardust, but there's a lot of different ones out there like Clue and Flow, and if you look up period apps, I'm sure there's so many. I personally like Stardust because you can give your account to somebody else. Like they don't sign in, but they have access to your data. And so I've given mine to my husband, and you can nudge someone on the app. So basically I can click a button and I can make it customized, and it'll send a notification to his phone like she needs a matcha or she needs cuddles, and you can like send them like that directly onto their phone. For me, I just love that one. But tracking your cycle helps a lot, even with your mental health. So let's say you're struggling mentally, you're having a rough week. Knowing it's your luteal phase helps give you some answers as to why you're feeling like you're not acting like your normal self. Understanding that you're in ovulatory phase, like I'm super confident. Why do I feel so pretty right now? It's like, oh, I'm in my ovulatory phase. This makes sense. It really just helps you understand your body and become more in tune with your body, understand all the different moods you have, the different energy levels throughout the month, and kind of tracking those symptoms along the month, even just internally and mentally. This way you could better predict your PMS, your ovulation, and your high energy days, so you can plan your month around this. Of course, that's not realistic all the time. You still have to do certain things, even maybe when you're in your luteal phase or your period week, but it's good to know so that you can at least have an idea of how to plan out your month for yourself. So in general, tracking helps spot irregularities within yourself and with your health, and overall helps maintain your well-being. This helps track patterns and flag things early if you ever need medical support about something. Understanding your cycle, understanding you're late maybe on your period, or understanding that your mood swings were a lot higher this month than last month. All of that helps with your overall health and your overall well-being. What I like to do is lightly think about my cycle in regards to my habits and my weekly goals so that I have it in mind. So if I have the week of my period, I'm not going to expect myself to work out every single day of that week, and that's okay. Going for a walk or just doing some light stretching at home is more than enough. Keeping in your cycle in mind when you have plans and you're creating your routines and your habits is something that's really beneficial. I think that's all I kind of wanted to say on the topic today. I feel like there's so much more I could go over, but I don't want to overwhelm you guys with information, especially if you haven't really learned about these cycles or understood it before. I just really want you to take this and think about it. Understand that your cycle isn't something to feel embarrassed about or guilty about, especially when it comes to our hormone changes, that this is the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed us as women, and this is the way that we're meant to be. Taking that into account whenever you're having weeks where you maybe struggle because of where you are in your cycle. As always, have self-compassion. Don't worry about perfection. Like I always say, progress over perfection. Appreciate your body. Appreciate the fluctuations. We will just build our lives accordingly. Clearly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted us to have weeks to rest. So let's take them. As always, I wanted to end with a closing dua. May Allah help us understand and honor our bodies. Grant us patience and self-compassion through every phase of our cycle. Guide us to build habits that support our health and our faith, and help us use this knowledge to strengthen our well-being and connection to Him. Ameen. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed this week's episode. I will see you guys next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.